Is your practice tired of wrestling with insurance denials, deciphering EOBs, and watching your revenue slip through the cracks? You are not alone. Welcome to The Claim Game, the podcast designed to cut through the confusion and provide you with the best practices for revenue cycle management success. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and we've been with people just like you in the trenches. Each week, we'll break down complex billing processes, share real-world solutions from practices like yours, and ask questions of the game makers and changers of healthcare so you can take control of your revenue. Let's turn those claim denials into deposits and help you return to focusing on patient care. It's time to win the claim game.
Welcome back to The Claim Game. Joining us today is Brent Metcalf. He is the founder of TriStar Counseling and really a powerhouse advocate for mental health in the Appalachian region. He is a native of East Tennessee, and Brent's journey from child welfare, case management to founding a thriving group practice was fueled by, well, one, as you'll hear in the episode, an accident, and two, a simple but profound mission, which is to provide high-quality, compassionate care for his home community. As an LCSW, Brent has specialized expertise in trauma, addiction, and men's mental health. He's known for his person-centered philosophy and a healthy dose of humor that helps his clients feel instantly at ease. Whether he's using brain spotting to help clients process deep-seated trauma or discussing the intersection of faith and therapy, brings a unique, relatable perspective to the modern mental health landscape. Please welcome Brent Metcalf. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into private practice.
Yeah, so I was like Brent Metcalf. I got into private practice, kind of fell into my lap. So I guess I'm a licensed clinical social worker. My social work journey started back in undergrad. I did an internship with Child Protective Services for Tennessee's child welfare system. Got bit by the CPS bug, fell in love with it, advocating for families, working with families. Instantly got a job there after graduation, literally walked across the stage, same day, took my cap and gown off, went for a job interview, and did that for about 5 years. And then from there, transition still in child welfare, but doing continuous quality improvement. So traveling all across the state and helping the higher ups write policies and streamline processes and things for our frontline staff. Then I'm started my master's degree, and I had to do clinical internship. So started doing therapy, fell in love with that. And so I was trying to find a way of how can I kind of bridge macro practice of child welfare and clinical stuff. So I accepted a position at Vanderbilt as a mental health consultant for the Department of Children's Services. So I was helping with assessments and making sure kiddos coming into foster care was getting the appropriate care and placements that they needed based on those assessments. And then private practice happened because I was in a financial advising meeting, and I joke all the time, but it's actually a kind of serious story. I went to the bathroom, I come back, and my financial advisor, my wife, you're going to start a private practice. And I said, I don't know that I am. And they said, at least do part-time. And so we agreed to that. I did that March of 22. And then
So you were voluntold to do a private practice?
I was, yeah. And then I negotiated to do part-time. And then we had a follow-up meeting a few months later. And I got to quit going to the bathroom during these meetings, quit drinking the water. And I come back hey, we voted and you're going to go full-time.
That's
and
crazy.
I said, I don't know that I like this idea. That's how I got into private practice. And that was full-time in October of 22. And then July of 23, I hired my first employee.
That's crazy. Yeah, you got to stop using the restroom at your meetings, I think. I mean, who knows? Every time you go, there's just a new thing. So
right.
That's a wild way to go back. So now you run TriStar Counseling, and I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to say it right, but everybody listening is not going to believe me, but you serve Tennessee and the Appalachian region, which everybody thinks it's Appalachian. It's not, folks. So
kudos to you for getting it right. I appreciate that.
Yeah. You got to get it right. So talk to us about TriStar. How long have you been? Well, you've been around for 6 years then?
So it'll be 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah, started in 22, part-time, full-time in October that same year. Expanded a group practice the following July of 23.
Nice.
And it was just me and another part-time therapist. And then we're now in 2026 and we are up to 9 therapists, including myself. And I just hired 2 more that will be starting in a couple of months. So we'll be up to 11.
So 11 people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a group there, Brent. You're really moving and shaking. So
yeah.
Do you have a niche that you serve?
So we are a multi-niche practice. So I specialize in trauma and men's mental health, anxiety. We have several EMDR therapists. I do brain spotting and accelerated resolution therapy. My wife also works for the practice as one of the therapists. She does trauma and women's mental health and is starting to learn more about eating disorders, which is like underserved in our area. So she's going to start trying to get a certification and things in that. And we have couples therapists. We have addiction specialists, like you name it. We will basically try to help you as much as we can. If not, we'll find you the appropriate referral. But we basically have it covered.
Which is kind of great because the Appalachian region, Tennessee, West Virginia, all up and down, has some really unique challenges. And you all take insurance.
We do.
Yeah. What's your payer mixture and how did you decide on the payers you decided to work with?
Yeah, so we take most of like the big ones, like the Optum, the Cigna, Aetna, and then Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. I started the practice and I wanted to take insurance because I wanted to be able to provide affordable and accessible quality mental health care, which I feel like a lot of the regions in Appalachia we just don't get. We're often overlooked and misunderstood and forgotten about. So that's always driving that's the mission to provide that. So did that, and some of the payers that we decided to take, I know you and I have had conversations before, like there's some that just do not pay us well, but they're also the payers or the insurance company that is the one that's provided by the biggest employer in our region. So if I want to provide access to care, that's the one way I can do that.
Yeah, and I looked up your rates on our rate comparison tool. For your payers, you're doing okay. I mean, relative to the practices and even the larger community-based agencies, you're doing all right. So everybody listening, Brent is pretty shrewd about this stuff. So it looks okay from a rate perspective. So we can just dive right in. So in preparation for this, you filled out the self-guided PHC evaluation, and I know you sent it over with a little bit of spice because you're definitely not a C student.
Yeah, not a C student.
No, and I'm looking at it, and you have some really bright spots here. So like you have a near perfect credentialing score. Your claim submission score is almost perfect as well. You have some really exciting things. I think the one area from a admin perspective, a billing perspective, is patient registration. So you're a high performer. You've got a bunch of notches in your belt. Talk through why patient registration seems like it's not churning as well as it ought to be.
I think it probably depends on which part of patient registration it is. So we send all of our intake forms. So the way that works, client calls or fills out the request an appointment form. Our admin calls them, gets a credit card on file. They then sends them the intake paperwork. They're supposed to be completing it before they come to their intake appointment. Sometimes they do, sometimes they forget, even with text reminders of, hey, complete this. For the most part, they do. And then what we've run into is sometimes we have Medicare folks who are, slightly older and them and technology don't always mix. Like I just think of like my grandma, my grandma and technology does not mix. I think she has like 20 Facebook accounts. So like we'll get some of them in. So like they'll have to do the paperwork with the therapist in the session, which takes into some of their intake time. And then one of the issues that we run into is if they do have an insurance, they are not always uploading their insurance front and back of their insurance card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then that causes a lot of delays when they come in, right? Because one of the things you wouldn't want to do, right, especially with you have 11 clinicians, you're getting up there, your rates look good, you've clearly negotiated better rates. I can see that. There are practices in your area making far less than you. Other billing systems are going well. What you don't want to do is have your patients have a bumpy experience, right? So is it a matter of getting people to do all this stuff before the session, or is there also a collections issue here? Or is it simply, hey, we have to dig into clinical time and get this stuff done?
Yeah, so I think some of it is, it's a hodgepodge of all the above, I think. So it's getting the information on the front end, which we try our best to do, or they're completing the paperwork to the most that they can, or they'll forget like the insurance card. And like the way that we do our intake forms, like it's through our EHR, and I can make certain questions like that mandatory. But if I make uploading the insurance card a mandatory question and they're not using insurance, they're self-pay, well, then they're then stuck in that cycle of, okay, now I can't submit anything. Yeah. So that's kind of where we run into. And then occasionally, like for us collections, we will occasionally run into like cards declining and things like that. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens on occasion.
Yeah. What's the checkout process look like? So they come in, maybe you have to dig into some intake time to fill out paperwork or get credit cards, etc. Do they just walk out the door after they're done?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Because we have the card on file, and then either myself or my admin, usually my admin, will go through each day and hit the copay button.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Do you like the EHR you're using? Are you willing to share which one you're using?
Yeah, so we just switched late or the middle of last year to Jane app, and I love Jane.
Yeah.
We were with
What do you
Therapy
love
Notes
about
before. I like that it's customizable and it's able to scale with me. My clients, because we were with Therapy Notes, I loved Therapy Notes. I just needed something that was able to scale with me as I grew, because we want to offer different services and things. My clients also feel like the patient portal side is a lot easier to navigate than our old EHR.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, what do you think would help the front office team, or maybe what would help your patients be able to navigate the front end process better and help the front office collect when some of those payment things get a little choppy?
Yeah, so I think we could probably definitely use some, especially like my admin, use a little bit more training and things around getting people onboarded, like the clients and stuff, intake stuff sent out, explaining it better, and explaining that we really need the front and back of insurance cards, because a lot of times we're also getting phone calls about, I want to know what like my copay or co-insurance is going to be, or what my insurance is going to cover before I come in. Okay, we're more than happy to do that, but we need your insurance information.
Yeah, right. Can't get the information without information.
Yeah. And so like what they'll do is like they will, like there's a drop down of like select what your insurance is, and they'll select that. And then they forget to upload a picture of the insurance card. Like, okay, like it's great that we know what your insurance is, but we don't have your insurance information to do the eligibility check.
Yeah, for sure. And your eligibility, your score on eligibility was pretty good. I mean, it's almost perfect, 25 out of 30. I mean, you're pretty functional there. What have been some of the barriers you found not having front and back of the card?
I think it's delayed eligibility checks as far as that goes, and like letting clients know upfront. Because if they're like on a super high deductible plan, they may want to switch to self-pay with like one of our provisionally licensed therapists who have a reduced rate versus seeing someone who's fully licensed and use their insurance. So trying to meet clients where they are at in that regard. But yeah, like the eligibility checks, that's kind of it for the most part, and just kind of not knowing like what the copay may be, or not being able to collect that copay at the checkout or at the end of the day, because we don't know what it is yet, because it takes the team a little bit to do eligibility checks at times.
Do you feel, as a little bit tangential, but do you feel like that's a mental health specific expectation? Like when you go to the ER, they don't tell you what your copay or deductible is going to be. You just, maybe it's the nature of the ER. I mean, it's a bad example, but like you go to your dermatologist and they don't tell you that. Right. Do you feel like that's a mental health specific cultural expectation?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things when it comes down to money and clients and things like that, it's very mental health kind of just siloed or niched. Because like I said, like we don't have that conversation with our primary care physician or dermatologist or the ER. We just go and we're willing to pay it. I mean, even same with like no-show fees, things like that. People get upset with mental health practices charging it, but then there's some doctor's offices and things in our area, like they don't bat an eye.
Yeah, that's right. And I hear you. That sounds like part of your population, maybe they struggle with technology. So that's definitely like you can't control your client's behavior. So what you can control is like what you said, training up front and training at the back end. How receptive do you think your front office team would be implementing a checkout procedure where there's like a checklist of things to go through? That would maybe help with that. I mean, are you missing, or like money's walking out the door when people check out?
So for the most part, I would say no to the checkout. Again, Occasionally we have like the decline card or something like that, and it's where, clients, either their card expired or they don't have enough money in their account. My admin is very good about chasing them down and calling them and and she's usually pretty good about getting that money back. And it's like, because usually it's like, oh my gosh, I just forgot to move money in my account, or I don't get paid till Friday. Do you care to just wait till Friday? And we'll try that. And usually that works out. But then if it doesn't, we just call the clients like, hey, you have a balance. Like, we can't see you again until you pay the balance. Or
Whoa.
if we've seen the client for a while, and we have a standing rapport with them, like, we can offer them some type of payment plan or something. So for the most part, that's fine. It's just kind of on occasion we just have that random no card not coming through.
That's so tricky, right? Because if the card declines, and this could be a 5 millimeter shift in the practice that I think a lot of practices need help with, because there's like some ickiness, and this is the next question I want to ask you about, like collecting money from clients, right? Because I think for therapists in private practice, that there's kind of a barrier there for some reason, right? But do you think the front office team could charge during a session or at checkout, and then if it declines, you get new information in live color?
Good. So our admin's not in-house, so that's probably
Understood.
part of the issue. Yeah, so she's virtual.
Got it.
So that's why part of the reason why I wait till the end of the day. I could potentially like train the therapist to hit like the copay button and whatnot, but I've also run into issues in the past where like they've done that and like the wrong amounts being carried over or something like that, or they've been charging more than what they should, and so it's just easier for me and my admin to take care of it.
Yeah, that does make sense. I know you consult with a lot of practices. How do you overcome the charging clients shtick?
I mean, it's just part of business. It's kind of part of like, just I had to put on my business hat of like going to the doctor. Like, there's a copay that I have to pay when I go to the doctor. There's a copay that my clients have to pay when they go to the doctor to come to see me at my practice or any of my therapists. No show fees. Like, I struggled with that at the beginning, and then I had to kind of do some mindset coaching around that of your time is just as valuable as theirs. And I don't have like the $1 billion budget like some of our giant community behavioral health agencies and things have. So it's not like I can just afford to having 5 or 6 no-shows a day or late cancellations and not charge.
No way. Yeah, you can't run a business that way for sure. So it sounds like you've been on something of your own mindset journey with this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
You didn't get voluntold to do that, right? Hopefully
no, that one was all me. If I was I got voluntold to do the business. Like, well, if I'm going to do the business, I'm going to do it right.
Yeah, when it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff right. Tell me about what your goals are with the practice, right? So let's say we get billing stable, you have front office figured out. It sounds like some SOPs and maybe some almost client coaching. I don't know how you would think about, how would you think about changing the culture, the dynamic of the clients you see to get paperwork done on time or scanning cards? How do you get your population to start to do some of that stuff ahead of time?
Yeah, so I think it will probably take some coaching with my admin up front, and then having her kind of do some coaching and education with the new clients around that. And then again, just constantly reminding them. Like, what's funny is occasionally we have like an automated text that will go out if we've not received their paperwork. And like, there's like a sentence at the end that says, if we don't get it like within 24 hours of your appointment, we'll have to cancel your appointment. Whoa. We never cancel their appointment. That's just more of a scare. It's more scare tactic. And it seems to work for the most part. Again, like sometimes we don't get the uploaded insurance cards, but we've had texts back like, please don't cancel. I'm going to do it right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that seems to work. So then it doesn't sound like your admin is chasing a ton of money, right?
No, not typically. Yeah. We're usually pretty good. And then if she is having to chase it, I would say 80% of the time, maybe 85% of the time, they're responding like, sorry, like just didn't get paid today, or need to transfer money over, or I forgot I got a new card. Let me upload a new one. And we usually get it.
So you have a great relationship with your clients, it sounds like. And it sounds like that's probably because your team is very good, like your clinical team. How are you recruiting new clinicians into the fold here?
Yeah. So I also teach part-time at the local university. So I'm an instructor for their field seminar program. So when they're in their like last year of internship for the social work department, I'm kind of get to teach them how to be therapists and guide them through their internship. Sometimes I will, if I like a certain student, things like, hey, if I'm hiring, you should consider submitting your application or send me your resume. So there's that. A lot of times it's just through like Indeed or LinkedIn. I think right now half of my therapists that work for me, I've either worked with them in the past, so I've had some type of other working relationship, or I've done a graduate certificate with them, so that we've just been familiar with each other, and I knew I could trust them, they could trust me. One is my spouse, so there's also that. Yeah.
Not too hard of a sell.
Then lately it's just, no. And then lately it's also been kind of like giving my current employees almost like a finder's fee of, if you know someone who's looking and they, I end up hiring them and they stay for 6 months, I'll give you like a finder's fee or recruiting fee.
Whoa.
Stuff
Okay.
like,
Yeah, that's like a spiff, almost like a special incentive fund that helps get more people. And that's worked, huh?
Yeah, because what it is I think it's helping build the culture, because I'm hiring the therapists that I think are going to fit well in the company culture. If they're going out and finding and recruiting therapists, they're going to want to recruit therapists that they're going to want to work with, because we all basically have an open door policy. We're all hanging out in and out of each other's offices in between sessions.
Awesome.
We're hanging out to do staff outings like every other month, just to hang out and get to know each other more and have fun. So, if it were me, I wouldn't want to hang out with people that I didn't enjoy working with.
Yeah. I'm sure you have in the past, huh?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You're in private practice now, so that makes sense. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a practice management software and EMR built to support you in the day-to-day work of running your practice. If you're a health or wellness practitioner, you already know the care you provide starts well before your client arrives and extends far beyond the treatment room. Jane is there to support you in every part of that experience. With online booking, your clients can book at a time that works for them. And with features like notifications, they'll even be able to grab last-minute openings when they pop up. It's an easy way to keep your schedule full while getting your clients the care they need. During your appointment, Jane's AI-powered documentation feature can help you thoughtfully take notes so you can stay present with the person in front of you. And after appointments, you can end your time together on a healing note, not a transactional one, by charging the card on file. To learn more about how Jane can support you and your clients, head to jane.app/demo. And one last thing, if you're ready to get started with Jane, you can use my code in the show notes for a 1-month grace period on your new account. What's the goal with the practice? Are you looking to sell it, grow it, keep it steady? What's your hope for the next year, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, so the goal is to keep growing. So in the middle of last year, we actually bought a building. So when I went into expanded to group practice with one employee, I sat down with my financial advisor.
Oh, no.
And this time the wife wasn't there, so I wasn't outvoted.
That's good. Okay. So to say, not another one, man.
Yeah. So I sat down with him and we were talking like, there's also possibilities about possibly like purchasing and buying other practices. Do I want to buy a building? And he's like, I would recommend you buy commercial property if you can, instead of renting. That way you have something that's yours. And then even if you down the road, you say you want to sell your practice, you don't have to sell the building. That's more revenue for you. So we set the goal of basically stay in my rental office for 2 years, stack cash as much as possible, and we'll have the down payment for the building. And we started looking, 2 years came, and literally a building across the street from my old office, which was in a great location, became available. So I went from renting 4 offices in a lobby, to 20 offices and 3 conference rooms. Yeah. And so we bought it. And so we're trying to grow and expand and make sure all those offices are filled. And then from there, maybe open a second location. We'll see.
So half those offices are just empty?
Currently. So we have one that is occupied. We had a massage therapist who was one of our neighbors at the old office. She came with us.
Oh, wow.
And rents an office space, which is nice because we also do like a lot of mind body work. And so massage can be a part of that. So like, hey, come meet our massage therapist that's here, like in-house. So we send her people, she sends us people, which has been great. We also have like a psychiatric nurse practitioner that's currently renting an office space 1 day a week from us, which is also nice because we're trading referrals back and forth. So like we have slowly become like a one-stop shop for like all things wellness, which wasn't necessarily the intention with this building, but it's just kind of unfolded, which is kind of nice.
That's amazing. Is there, I don't know, I'm spitballing here, Brent. Is there a way to fold those people into the practice? And then that way you can negotiate a higher rate with some of these other payers? Because now you really like, you're multi niche, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is probably helps with marketing, especially in
Mm-hmm.
your area. But from a rate perspective, would that help negotiate some of those better rates? Like, hey, look, we're now multi-specialty, right? We need to
Mm-hmm.
change our taxonomy code, or we need to change to not a facility, but a different category of provider. Is
Right.
that in the cards at all?
Yeah, so I've been in talks with a psychiatric, the nurse practitioner that rents from us, and then there's also another psychiatric nurse practitioner that I've been talking to, who is thinking about like coming on board as like a 1099. So yeah, it's definitely being considered as something that we're pursuing and exploring.
Wow.
The massage therapist, like we've joked about it, but I say she'll probably just stay renting a room.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this nurse practitioner stuff, it's definitely on the table and being explored.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that would be really exciting. The other option from like a growth perspective, you mentioned buying a practice. Is that in the cards too?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about that, or is that all? Am I tramping on an NDA there?
A little bit of an NDA. One's been signed, but yeah,
right.
We've signed an NDA, but yeah, it's also being explored and on the table.
Okay, so can you talk about? Don't break your NDA. That's for sure. But what intrigued you about that idea? How did you find one? That kind of thing. Like, can you talk about some of those details or no?
Yeah. So it kind of started out as just kind of networking, because being a therapist is a lonely place. Being a group practice owner is even a lonelier place. So just kind of did a networking type meeting and got to know each other. And then I just walked away thinking, because they even said like, I planned on retiring in like 5 to 6 years, something. And I walked away and told my wife, like, it'd be really cool if we could like possibly buy that practice. Well, we didn't talk for like another year and a half, and I didn't think anything of it. And then I just kind of got a cold email one day saying, hey, we'd love to talk again, and about you possibly either doing a merger or possibly buying my practice.
That's so sort of serendipitously, right? There wasn't a strategy or like a VC like hostile takeover situation, right?
Yeah.
You don't seem like that kind of guy, honestly.
I try not to be.
It's an urge you have to restrain.
I tell people all the time, like they ask me about like my journey into like social work and private practice and just business ownership, and like the line that I constantly use is I feel like I've been very blessed. Like things just seem to keep falling into my lap. Not necessarily, sometimes I pursue them, but for the most part, it's like, here it is. And it's just an opportunity. I just get to take it.
Well, you're a gentle, smart guy. Like those combinations of things don't come around that often. So that makes total sense. I mean, you have a lot of notches on your belt. And so I feel like for somebody like you, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Our mutual friend, Dan King, has he talked to you about buying practices at all?
Not since the conference that we met at. But,
shout out to Group Practice Conference.
Yeah. So, coming up in May 2026.
See this May. Right. But yeah. But you like picked his brain a little bit?
I've not yet. I probably will, especially as like I start to explore more as the buying process and things go on, since I'm still kind of exploring it. But yeah, he's definitely someone I have in my back pocket.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was at a conference, Group Practice Scaling Summit in Chicago a few weeks ago, and we used the rate comparison tool, which I think you have access to being in the Hourglass, but there was a 44-person practice that was at that conference, and we were poking around the rates in Chicago, and we found a 3-person practice that makes $50 more a session. And we called Dan, because he does that arbitrage thing where I think you can renegotiate rates for all of the organizations if you acquire a practice with a higher rate. It's something like that. Don't quote me on that. Reach out to Dan if you want more information. But that's a really intriguing strategy, right? And now that we have transparency data, we can say, oh, this practice does, they're way smaller than us, but we can fold them in and then renegotiate the rates. Was that part of what you were looking to do, or was that not really on the radar?
Yeah, so buying a practice at all wasn't really necessarily on the radar, getting kind of put in my lap. So now what I'm doing is I will be, as I explore, like getting their contracts, looking at their rates and things like that. I've explored some of like the transparency data that's already out there. Some of the things we're getting paid the same. Some payers I'm getting paid more. Some payers are getting paid more. So trying to figure that out. Now also keep trying to go back and forth too of, do I keep them two separate businesses, or do I just kind of fold them under into the TriStar umbrella?
Whoa.
Yeah. So
What are the pros and cons of that?
pros of folding them in is, one, I'm going to fill up my office space.
Yeah.
Because the other practice owner, like, I think they like own their building, things like that. So I could potentially like move people in, or I could keep it like that to company. Basically have two practices. That's one con. I now have to keep up with two bookkeeping things, two practices I got to run, two different EHRs.
No.
Yeah. So that's
Shoot.
one thing. So, but they also have like they've been around for forever.
Yeah, and then if you did fold them in, you'd have to negotiate rates and figure out administrative processes and
Right.
that kind of thing. I mean, this has grown into a serious community thing. How are you making inroads with the community? I mean, do you go speak? And I know you're teaching at the university, you mentioned that, but do you do a lot of other like speaking engagements, sponsoring events locally? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we try to do different things in the community as much as possible. There's a like back to school bash every summer that is put on by the community, specifically for one local school system, but I think it's more targeted for underserved community. So we'll go back and like we'll give out like notebooks and things like that. We'll do that. We've sponsored beauty pageants and things. That's for scholarships for like first generation like Black women going to college.
Oh, wow.
So we'll help with that and sponsor that. We also go and try to make really good relationships with our other providers in the area, especially like our primary care physicians, things like that. So that's a big one for us. Like because it takes a team in order to keep everybody healthy, like especially like the primary care physicians who really get and understand the holistic approach to care. And I know like holistic care is like a buzzword right now on all things social media and whatnot. Yeah, like having those relationships with primary care physicians has been huge.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it just sounds like you've really cornered the Tennessee market in some ways, right? I mean, you're trying to fill up those offices. So if you're looking for a job at a practice, call Brent.
I'm always hiring. Yeah.
You're always hiring. I love it. I'm sure you have other projects. So you've got maybe acquisition, you got building stuff to take care of. I mean, you do some consulting, right? How do people connect with you if they want to hear more or learn more about what you're doing or how you do it?
Yeah, so I also do clinical supervision. I'm on, I think there's like a nationwide directory. I think it's called like this clinical supervision directory.
Whoa.
I'm listed in there. But yeah, they're more welcome to reach out to us either through our website, or they can email us and say, I want to do clinical supervision or something with Brent. I'm happy to talk rates and what that looks like. I teach. I'm also wrapping up my doctorate program. I'll be graduating in May. So that's one project that'll be off my
Oh, wow.
my
Congrats.
list. So,
that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Didn't mention that. Yeah. That's great. What does that do for you?
One, it's just people ask me like, why did you go get it? I think I've always wanted people to call me Dr. Brent since I was like 10. So
That's awesome. I love
there's that. But also like, again, I'm a believer in lifelong learner. And I want to be able to provide East Tennessee, or Tennessee in general, and Appalachia, the best quality mental health care I can. And if that means me going and getting a doctorate to really refine my clinical skills, do research about clinical things coming up, then I want to do it.
Wow. Yeah, you're really moving and shaking, I feel like. So with the billing stuff, I know it's a headache for a lot of practice owners in general. Mm-hmm. Would you recommend they take insurance, not take insurance? I mean, you've been down the road quite a bit now. When you consult with practice owners, what do you tell them about the whole game of insurance?
So for me, I think it comes down to personal choice and what it is that you want and what aligns with your values and your convictions. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking insurance. I don't think there's anything wrong with not taking insurance, because there's pros and cons to both.
Hashtag hot take, huh?
Yeah. So, if you can find clients who want to pay your self-pay rate, and you don't necessarily have to attach a diagnosis to anyone. It's completely private. Great. If you want to, be able to have access to care that's affordable, and that's why we decided to take insurance. Great. There's going to be a lot of hoops and things you're going to have to jump through, from credentialing to keeping documentation completed by a certain time, having certain things in your documentation, proving medical necessity in case there's clawbacks or audits that happen. So
Yeah,
it just
stuff
depends on what you
happens.
want. Yeah.
Well, it's true. That's true. And it depends on the rates too, right? I mean, if you can't keep the lights on, then it doesn't make sense
Right.
in a lot of ways, right? We have a payer evaluation tool in the Hourglass that shows our users like, is this worth it? Like, am I actually able to keep the lights on or not at the lowest rate, right? So if you're offered, I don't know, that we're working with one practice whose rate is like 67, that's like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know how you can do that. And so
Yeah.
either drop the panel, negotiate, that kind of thing. And I know it is shenanigans, honestly. So you guys take government payers too?
We take Medicare, just not Medicaid.
Okay. Yeah. And that's it's its own world, right?
Yeah.
In some ways.
It's a completely different beast. And Medicare actually pays us well, and they've just opened up, I think, within the last year and a half, because used to it was just LCSWs could take Medicare, and now they've opened it up to LPCs, LMFTs, which has been great.
You think it's
people
great?
are kind of, I do. I mean, again, it's access to care. Like, people were limited to just LCSWs. Well, if you only have one LCSW in your town because you live in a rural area and they're full, okay, well, sorry, Grandpa, like, you're going to have to wait a little bit, or drive hour and a half to find someone else.
Hasn't telehealth really made this more accessible, though? Have you found that to be the case, or do people still want to go in person?
So when COVID was a thing, definitely people were all about telehealth. And then what I've learned is when the world started to open back up from COVID, people really missed the in-person connection. So the majority of our clients, I would say, are in person. We have a few that are telehealth, and occasionally like the stars will align and I have like a full telehealth day, but those are rare. Like, most people just prefer in person. Now, there's some practices who are just fully remote and fully telehealth because that's what their clients like. So I think it just kind of depends on the client, but in East Tennessee, it's in person or bust for the most part.
In person or bust, man. Have you found that to be the case? You talk to a lot of practice owners. It sounds like you're really good at networking, but have you found that to be the case, broadly speaking?
I think so. It's been kind of a lot of just in person because, again, I think COVID did a lot of things. Allowed us to see, like, we can do things telehealth. We can have access telehealth for mental health care. It also caused people to start having an open conversation and break down some of the stigmas and things about having mental health concerns or mental illness. And just going to therapy in general. So now therapy is cool, which is great. And people aren't necessarily as afraid of going to therapy or being judged about going to therapy anymore. But you still have the occasional folks who are like, they're busy, like entrepreneurs, or have busy schedules, and like they just want to do telehealth in their car on their lunch break or from their office, and don't want to have to drive anywhere, which is great. But then for the most part, like, majority of our folks and people in this area are in person.
That's wild. When you talk to people about starting practices, what do you tell them? What's your go-to piece of advice for a young person who wants to start a solo practice, or maybe somebody coming out of agency life? What's the vintage Dr. Brent advice?
One, know your niche, and if you don't have one, figure out what that might be, and get a specialty and try to become the best at it. And then I also tell folks, there's usually two camps of people when it comes to opening a practice. It's either, well, this is going to be really, really easy. I'm just going to throw my name on the door and it's going to be great. And then it flops. Or there's the camp of, this is going to be very, very difficult. I'm going to overthink everything. And they find out, well, it's not quite that difficult either. So you got to find the balance. So if you think it's super, super easy or super, super difficult, something's probably off, and we should probably have a conversation, because it doesn't have to be as hard as you think it is, and it's also not going to be super easy either. So,
whoa, okay, yeah. Well, it's good. It's good to know. Should you overthink things?
I mean, I used to be. Sometimes I still am an overthinker. I think sometimes that can be beneficial, but also if you're staying up at night with anxiety because of your business, it doesn't have to be that way. So, what systems can we put in place to where you don't have to worry about it as much? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and on that note, I think when I look at your practice health score, I mean, there are some systems that can definitely go in on the front end side for patient registration, right? Because I hope this isn't, stroking your ego too much, but your practice is too good for the patient experience to be choppy, right? I mean, you're going to grow. I mean, you can just tell that you're on this growth trajectory and people want to work with you, and it makes sense. I mean, you're a humble guy who's really good at this and you're well connected. Yeah, there's definitely some tools in the Hourglass that couldn't be helpful, right? Like the checkout lists that are there, or the workflows that are in there could help your admin, even though they're virtual. I don't know how you feel about taking admin in-house. Is that not on the table?
At some point, as we continue to grow, it's probably going to have to be,
Mm-hmm.
especially because we have like someone in-house in person here. And for the most part, like the virtual has worked. Like she works part-time and
Yeah.
still gets things done. Like we even have a sign in our lobby that says like this office is by appointment only. Like if you need to make an appointment, like call this number.
Wow.
And that seems to work for the most part. But at some point, as we grow, I'm sure in-person in-house is going to be a need.
Yeah, for sure. I think with every group like yours, you hit a point where it's like growth maybe seems kind of small, and then things start to like go like that in a, like a sideways U almost.
Mhm.
And at that point, I think it makes sense for, and this doesn't help me out at all, but I think it makes sense for everything to go in-house.
Right.
Just for sustainability, quality, you have management potential. You can knock on an office, even though you'd have to use maybe one of those offices, or, you know, one or two for not therapy, which would be a problem because it's not revenue generating in some sense, but it does make sense at some point. So have you determined like what the growth markers are for doing that?
Not yet. Like I just kind of figure things out as I go.
Okay.
Like that's even how I started my practice of like I didn't
That's
have like a
awesome.
consultant starting out. So I'm like
Yeah.
Googling everything and trying to figure things out, YouTubing all the things.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so like now that I have like some operating expenses like cushion set aside, like I can spend money on like the consulting and things like that. So I'm always picking people's brains and asking, and when is the perfect time or the right time to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. This is the hot topic of the day, but what are you doing with AI in the practice, if anything?
Yeah, so we use AI for our note takers. We get consent from our clients. Our clients know that we use AI for note taking. We let them know like we want to be able to concentrate on the person who's like sitting on our couch and not constantly having to handwrite notes down and things like that. So we use AI for that. It also helps us with our treatment plans and treatment plan ideas, things like that. That's how AI is currently in our practice.
That's awesome. Yeah, AI is very powerful. It's changing things. And I think AI scribing for notes makes a ton of sense. I mean, there are practices, Brent, that we see with 500 notes not done. And in some extreme cases, thousands of notes not done.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't make any sense. It made sense
like,
before AI, but it doesn't make sense now.
Like starting out, I was in the camp of very like I'm anti AI. Like I was very much, I was there. And then like I was like one of the people like you described, like super behind on notes because I hate documentation so much. Just let me come and like listen and provide the safe space and do the therapy and then go home. I don't need to document it. But yeah, but we do because we take insurance. So yeah, so
that's right.
AI has been great. So like I literally tried in like probably 4 or 5 different AI companies, and I wanted something that I knew was going to be HIPAA compliant, going to be secure. So I tested them out before I'd even rolled it out with the therapist at my practice. Like even had like sit downs with some of like the owners and founders of the companies to like, I need to know like how is this going to work? Like I took it very seriously. And then I found one that I liked and we've stuck with it.
Wow. Okay. Do you want to like say who it is or no?
Yeah, if that's allowed, sure. Yeah, we use Uphill for ours. Okay. We really, really like them. There was one company that I tried before them that they were like required you to put in a name or some type of identifying information. And at that point, like, I don't know how I feel about that, even though they're saying it's HIPAA secure. Uphill doesn't require it. Like I can hit record anonymously and like there's no information in their system or whatnot, unless other than the date of the session and the time. And I can basically go back into my calendar and match up the sessions if I want. I can put in a name or initials if I want to, but it's not required. So that's what I really liked about them. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. Amazing. Yeah, the podcast has no connection to them at all. So yeah, you can shout out whoever you want. Okay. So yeah, it sounds good. Well, I think, the next time we take a look at the health of the practice from a billing perspective, I think patient registration would obviously be top of mind to shore up, and we'll help you in whatever we can, because I think having a patient experience that's flawless helps build trust and brand recognition. Well, it builds on what you've already done. You've done a ton. So it just puts you in a lead category. And then it seems like all the other categories of billing that you have from a practice perspective are tweaking related. I mean, it seems like you're doing really well. I mean, I was looking at your AR and it's looking pretty good. I mean, there are some, to put it in perspective, the industry has said that 25% of your AR over 120 days is considered healthy, which is nuts. I mean, that's just crazy. Yours is way like multiples under that. So we're very happy to see that. I think you've had a lot of discipline in how you've structured things on the front end, and it shows on the back end. So doing a good job. It's just that front end stuff you can definitely iron out and tweak and sort out. But yeah, there's some tools in there to help you out. Anything else you want to add to the life of practice owners that are listening? Any useful tools? We know where to find you, and we'll include those in the show notes too. But if we need more Brent in our life, we'll...
Yeah, for sure. I would just close out just by saying, like, if you need like insurance stuff, if you're taking insurance, you're not going to do billing in-house, find you a good biller that you can trust. I'll do a plug for you in your company, Jeremy, like Practice Solutions. Like, we just recently switched you all. Phenomenal.
Oh, that's great.
Lifesavers for us.
Oh, thanks, Brent. No, that's very sweet. Our team has really enjoyed working with you. I mean, it makes sense that opportunities fall into your lap. So personally, I can attest that that's the case for sure. So yeah, well, that's great. Well, again, thank you for coming on. Thanks for being vulnerable and transparent about how the guts of private practice works. It's not always easy or obvious, for sure. Any other resources you want to give to people that you would recommend folks look at or use, think through?
Yeah. I mean, they can reach out if they have any major questions about starting a practice, things like that. But there's also like different online communities and things out there too that are also super beneficial. So check
amazing. Well, I'll see you at Group Practice Conference in May, but this has been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed today's episode of The Claim Game, please take a moment to leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps new listeners to find us. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to The Claim Game on your favorite podcast app. Your feedback means so much to us. We want to provide valuable education about revenue cycle management. So if there's something we didn't cover in our topic that was a burning question for you, please let us know so we can try to get you the information you desire. You can find the links to all resources we mentioned in this episode in the show notes. And if you want to dive deeper into our resources, we have two places you can do that. First, you can go to our blog at practicesol.com/blog, where we have 8 years of educational blogs. If you want to learn more about what Practice Solutions does, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Just go to practicesol.com to learn more and to connect with one of our awesome people on our team. Thanks for listening. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and this is The Claim Game. See you at the game table next time.